Welcome to Tailboard Talk, a fourth shift fitcast. The mission of Tailboard Talk and the fourth shift fitness is to educate and train fire service personnel to increase durability and decrease the potential for injuries and their associated costs. My name is Chris Morella, owner and founder of Fourth Shift Fitness. I'll use my experience as a personal trainer, strength coach, and 15-year veteran of the fire service to deliver tips, tricks, lessons, and information specifically geared towards the health and wellness of firefighters and paramedics. Each episode, you'll leave with immediate deliverables that will improve performance and resilience and keep you in the fight through your career and into retirement. Let's get into it. You ready?
Yes.
Oh, now you're ready?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Tailboard Talk, fourth shift fitcast. And tonight, I'm here with Katie. Man, we're doing this over again. So we just did about 15 minutes of rambling, and I realized that Katie's microphone wasn't on, so we're starting over again. That's pretty par for the course with this. Turns out there's a switch on the side of the microphone that's always on when Kurt uses it, and I must have turned it off at some point. I didn't think it mattered because I'm using a recorder. It's not powered, but apparently it matters. So here we are. Anywho's, today we're talking about the morning after. And I feel like now it's the morning after. Like I feel like I just got home and I don't. Oh God, I want to engage again. But anyways, the morning after shift, because it is an area that Katie and I had a pretty healthy amount of conflict in the past. We kind of went through our adulthood, and both of us went in different phases of our job and adulthood and parenthood and dog ownership and kid ownership and whatnot. But like I said, it was one of the areas of more frustration, more conflict. And right now, even with two kids, we're doing okay because we kind of set up a system. And that's what I want to talk about today. So again, I will ask you this question. Well, first of all, hi.
Hi.
Hi. What was my question? Oh, when I say morning after routine, specifically the morning I'm coming home from work, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? What's the first thing you think of?
It's still coffee.
It's still coffee. All right. And then expand on that.
Expanding on that. Well, because that's kind of the first thing you do when you walk in, if Nathan doesn't ambush you right away. If Nathan doesn't ambush you, you take off your shoes, you wash your hands, and you pour coffee.
Yeah. Because I'm ready. Because at that point, I'm almost ready to go.
Almost ready.
Which is a vast change from probably like 3 or 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. When it was like, get away from me time. And that, when I come home from work. And so that's what we're going to talk about is kind of some of the changes that we both made so that when I walk in the door in the morning, I'm more or less functioning and ready to be a parent or ready to be a spouse or just ready to be in the house in general. Rhyming all the time.
Oh, God.
All right. Got a good one already. So take us through, I wrote this down because when we were talking about this before the episode, you talked about how I used to annoy you during your getting home from time. So let's talk about that real quick.
Am I getting home from work time?
You're getting home from work time. Back in the day.
Back in the day when I had a real commute. I used to have to commute an hour each way. And anyone who works a traditional or, a 9 to 5 traffic and going those hours is horrendous. And I worked pretty close to the city. So I had a healthy 45-minute to an hour commute. So I would leave work at 5 and probably roll into the house about 6-ish. And all I wanted to do was get out of my work clothes, have a glass of wine, and watch garbage TV for half an hour and not have to talk or pretend to like people. And you wanted
there
to.
I was.
And there you were, ready to yippity yap about the day, check in, make dinner.
Watch you make
just
dinner.
Be so wonderful.
Yeah.
And I wanted you to be quiet.
Which is funny because
it took us quite a while to figure out that 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. is your 6 p.m.
Yeah. Yes. But it's that weird thing, right? So even then, you would get up early and either go to the gym or just be up like a crazy person. But now you get up early because the kids get up not that early.
They don't. They're really awesome sleepers.
They are. But you still get up early.
Yeah.
And so if you get up early, What time does your alarm go off?
4:30.
Right. If you get up that early, and you're 3 hours in your day when I come home,
Yep.
I'm not. I'm at the end of my day. And so you would be in yippity yap mode, and I'd be like, get away from me mode, because I was up 3 times after midnight, and I had to make way too many decisions, and now you're coming at me with all sorts of problems. And we're going to get to that part of it. But one of the first things we did was realize that, the way you felt at 6 p.m. is the way I feel at 7 or 7:30 a.m., even though it's vastly different times of the day and the expectations for those times of the day are different. We're not that regular. We're not that normal. So we have to kind of adjust our expectations of each other. And that was the first part of it. I think we knew that, but we just kind of suffered through it for a while.
Well, I think it's for us too. Now, what are we, 2021? We've been living together for a little over 11 years.
Yeah.
So it took a long time to figure it out. And through the different seasons of, first moving in and just being excited to live together. But on totally go schedules where you were gone, I was gone all the time. There was, as you said before, like very little overlap in our mornings. Our mornings, 11 years ago were, hey, here's your coffee. Hope you had a great day. I'll see you in 12 hours.
Yeah.
And then by the time we both were home, we could yippity yap all night about how things went the day before and our days and this and that, because we were both done with our day, decompressed. You were, relaxed and whatever from your day. And then it went to me being done with school, then a real job with a real commute, and then switching careers, not having to leave so early, having more time at home in the morning. When I think that's when that was the biggest issue.
You being around more was a big, big issue for both of us, because that decompression time was built in. When I would go to work, you would have at that time we just had the dogs. So you had stuff to do, and you had to get to work eventually. But you had the morning offish, right?
Well, compared to what my morning was before, I'd have to be at my office till 9:30, so I'd have to leave till 9.
That's like noon for you. And then when I would come home, no matter how strung out I was from shift, you were leaving. So even though there was 20 minutes of overlap there, it was pretty rushed. And then I would have the entire day to do nothing and kind of recover from the day before. But yeah, as soon as there was more overlap, then the issues came up. Now, luckily, probably 4 or 5 years ago, it might even been more. I was trying to remember. I couldn't remember. I think the Illinois Firefighter Peer Support Network put on a presentation in the town I work in, and Matt Olson spoke, and he was talking about his journey and his struggles and his mental health and how he kind of hit a low point a couple times and came back. And one of the things he was talking about was exactly this, the morning routine, because he said he would be stressed out at work. And I'm paraphrasing from 5 or 6 years ago, so I'm going to do the best I can. I don't mean to misquote his story, but essentially the stress from work would continue on the drive home, and then you'd walk into a stressful environment with kids or with a to-do list or whatever, and there was no break in the action. There was no break in the stress, and so it all was the same stress. And so the work stress got lumped in with the home stress, and there was no reprieve at all, and that was an issue. And after some pretty low points, he came up with an agreement with his wife that there was I think he said a 45-minute to an hour buffer in the morning where dad's off limits, and he could go home. The kids were more or less instructed to leave him alone. His wife didn't, I don't want to say pester, but like he had a given hour in the morning where he wasn't responsible for anything, and he didn't have a task to do or someone calling on him. And after that, he was ready to go. He was ready to be a husband and a wife. He was ready to deal with a wife. I'm always ready to be a wife. As soon as you want to make me the wife and you go make money, you let me know.
No.
Or the stay-at-home dad or whatever.
Don't take my job.
Yeah. So I heard that, and then I still didn't bring it up. I just kind of figured my role is to go home and get back to work. And then a couple years after that, I was in the acting officer program. I was getting more responsibility at work. I was getting more involved. I was being scrutinized more. Decisions were more on my shoulders. And I would come home, and then because I gave no indication besides my frustration from time to time that was not working for me, I would get a list of to do or what went wrong or what broke or what I got to do or what needs to be done. And I would just kind of be frustrated and consider that my role and go through with it. And then I brought it up as, hey, this worked for this guy, and I think I need this. I think I need this buffer of half hour-ish when I come home, and that'll be my shower time and get ready for the daytime, and then I'll be ready to go. Now, I've adjusted since then, and we'll talk about that, but that really did help because I live basically in the town I work for, so I don't have a long commute. The farthest station away is like 20, 25 minutes in real bad traffic, and the closest one is 7 minutes away in okay traffic. Actually, the closest one is
down the street,
2.5 minutes away walking, but I'm never at that one. So it's not like I could take a long ride home and kind of do nothing for a little bit and then decompress on the way home. So I had to build that time into the morning. Aside from that, though, besides the time offage, we also had to adjust kind of how we talk to each other. And that's been an ongoing battle forever because, you know what? Sometimes it's not what I say, it's how I say it.
All the time.
Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Me too, I've been told. But we had to be way more conscious of what we were saying to each other, specifically after shift, but just in general. So why don't you tell me, this is what you need to do. You need to tell me how you don't talk to me bad anymore. Tell me. So tell me how you've adjusted the delivery, that we both adjusted the delivery to avoid that tough morning after kind of period.
I think the biggest thing, well, a couple of things.
Okay.
Like I said last time, it was one, if something big needs to be addressed the day after shift, whether it's something needs to be, serviced in the house as far as something broke or a person's coming over to fix something or whatever, I know that I need to give you a heads up. I know now that you can't just walk in the door and be like, oh yeah, by the way, they're coming to do a furnace clean out or an AC tune up or the electrician's coming to look at whatever. I have to give you a heads up and say, hey, by the way, this is happening tomorrow around this time. Because in that way, if you do have a long night and you want to come home and take a nap, oh, hey, a service technician's coming to the house. And regardless if they're going to be in the space you're in, it's, someone's going to be in the house. So you're probably not going to be taking a nap during that time. Mm-hmm. So that's one big thing I think we both, not necessarily that you said that you needed it, but I was never the spouse that was like, oh, he's at work, I'm not going to text him about all these things. I'll wait till he gets home.
No, you were that spouse.
No, before I never text. I never text you.
Yeah.
Really when you were at work. And then once we kind of had this conversation, I started texting or calling you and saying, hey, this is happening tomorrow. Because I felt like if I gave you a heads up and let you know, is it's one less thing I have to tell you in the morning, for one. And two, you then can know how to plan your day around it. Because when I was working full time, all the time gone, you had to be the one to deal with it. The other thing we changed, we're both really working on it because we both do it, is instead of saying, you have to do this, this, and this today, or I need this, this, and this done, it's more of a collaboration of, hey, we need to get these things done, or, hey, this happened yesterday. I tried doing ABC. It's not working. Can you take a look? Do you have time to take a look at this, or can you look at this, or can you tell me who to call, or whatever, if something's going on? Yeah.
Well, we definitely adjusted those things.
I think those were the two biggest things, is texting you to give you a heads up if something's going on, or just if something like really needs to be addressed. Like, and I don't know what's going on or how to fix it. There's been multiple times now where something's happened and you told me who to call because you know somebody who can come over that you trust to look at it, or you'll be able to walk me through how to fix it.
That's a big thing, is that there was a lot of stuff in the old house and in this one that when I would come home, it'd be like, these 4 things are wrong. So go figure it out. Like, I need you to take care of these 4 things because this all went wrong yesterday. And probably at least 2, if not 3 of them were things that if you would have shot me a text during the day, I would have been like, go flip this switch, or...
Oh, I can flip the switch.
Yeah. Yes. Or clean out that filter or whatever, And so those were problems that could have been resolved before I even got home and didn't need to be put on the top shelf as needs. They were just things that were to be taken care of that could have been taken care of the day before in a far lesser urgency.
Or you knew how to plan. If it was something that was urgent, you knew how to plan your day or how to prep yourself for the next day to say, okay, I know I have to get this done.
Yeah. Or this is a situation.
Mm-hmm.
That's useful. I mean, that's useful to know specifically when you're on shift, because you might be having a tough day, but if you know that tomorrow you're going to have a long day, you can at least get yourself in the headspace of like, all right, no matter how many calls we're running tonight or what we got to deal with, I know that tomorrow is going to bring X, Y, and Z. And so just getting yourself in the mindset now that you're going to have to endure tomorrow, and then after that it'll be smooth sailing. But if you're having a tough day and you come home and get, more or less quote unquote ambushed by it, that's like when you figure you're going to be able to relax and figure you're going to be able to not have to care about things or troubleshoot or be a professional. So getting home and being told that you're still on the clock basically is a real stressor. Not to mention, we talked about before, like if there's something going wrong at home, probably the best time for it to happen is when I'm at work, because
it always happens when you're at work.
Yeah, because I don't have to deal with it. I have to deal with it, but I'm in the mode of problem solving and troubleshooting and fact finding and finding resources for solutions to issues. So that's a much easier thing to accomplish when I'm at work, and that's just one more thing on the list I got to do for the day, as opposed to when I'm at home and trying to check out and I don't want to deal with it. Especially in the first 30 minutes or 15 minutes of being home. I mean, those are my two big things, right? The attention on delivery. Mm-hmm. So going from you need to instead of that saying, can you find time for, or do you have the ability to, or whatever. And then the advance warning. Those were two major things that I think really helped us out.
Mm-hmm.
I also made a couple other little adjustments that I know at first I definitely wasn't trying. So what I would do is I would come home, I would leave shift right away, or never got relieved, and I would pack up right away and then come home. And then I would try to grab some coffee and then go upstairs and shower and just kind of hang out upstairs or at our old house in the bedroom and just kind of decompress for a little bit. But when we had dogs, it wasn't easy because they were scratching at the door and they wanted to rock and roll. Now we have kids and it's even more not easy because they are like humans and stuff, and they see you come in and it's MF and party time. So what I started doing was staying at work longer, and that really helped me out because even though I was in the building at work, I wasn't responsible for anything. So I would stay at work, hang out, have a little bit of coffee, go take a shower, or even do a quick workout, and then drive home. That bought me about 45 minutes to an hour. And you might be saying like, yeah, but then you're getting home at 8 or 8:30 and you're stealing time from your family. Kinda. But I will tell you, and Katie's sitting right here to tell you also, that the times I came home and tried to force it, that was not
good.
That was not time with the family. That was me being in the room with the family or whatever, but that was not time with the family.
Well, I think that was something kind of just to scroll back to the last thing is that's the other thing. You've been, and really I would say even better in the last, since Sawyer. So the last 6 months is when you're home, you've gotten a lot better in the morning of being home and not on your phone and here but not here. So you've been more present.
Well, it's way easier I will say it's way easier to get excited about coming home with kids compared to dogs. Because I don't know why. Well, I know that the dogs were going to bring energy. Like when I came home, it was going to be energy, but it was going to be not fickle, but it's going to be dog energy, right? They're going to be excited, but they're going to be excited to go on a walk and do stuff. Nathan brings the party.
Nathan is ready to do stuff.
He brings the party. So,
but normally he's not ready for the party till 8:30, 9 o'clock right now.
That's fine. That's right when I'm getting home. So it's easier to get home because it's something you get to interact with and continuously grow with. And so you might be having a bummer of a day or be totally strung out from being up all night, but you're like, oh man, Nathan's going to want to rock and roll. And even if we sit on the couch and just hang out and do nothing, it's going to be a cool kind of environment. Now, that wore off with the dogs at 5 or 6 years in when they were happy for 5 minutes and then threw up in the corner and want to go outside and didn't want to play anymore. So we'll see. If he starts throwing up in the corner and I want to play anymore, I might just stay at work longer. But
I don't think it's going to happen.
It has been easier to compartmentalize, be done with shift, take a shower real quick, hang out for a hot minute, and then come home and being more ready to rock and roll with the kids than it was with dogs. I don't know. It's different all around, right? I mean, how many times do we hear people tell us like dogs aren't going to prepare you for kids?
Oh no, who's ever said that is so wrong. I will say dogs 100% prepare you for kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're not, I don't think
both
they're
Mia, our old dog, and Nathan have peed in the closet at least
twice.
a dozen times.
He's
at
only
least
done
twice.
He's only
twice.
done it twice.
Yeah. And there's been poop on several different areas of the floor from both animals, being Mia and Nathan.
No, yeah. I definitely think that's a false statement. Dogs definitely prepare you for kids. The only difference is we can't leave our kids alone in a cage for 6 hours at a time while we're gone.
I mean,
you're not supposed to.
Kind of, right? Yeah. No, you're not supposed to.
I mean, Nathan would get out at this point anyway, so who are we kidding?
Yikes.
But Nathan's energy is also much sweeter.
It is. He's a madman. What else? So, what advice would you give? Like, when we were talking about this topic, the thing you kept going back to is that our morning routine has changed drastically in the seasons of our lives. So, you talked about when I just got hired full time, and you were going to school, and then you were had your various jobs and
I've had
occupations.
2 jobs.
How many?
2. Like real jobs.
And then you didn't have to. There was more overlap because you were home more, and there's less overlap for full time, and then more overlap now with stay at home. What advice would you give people though, who are in any season of that life about the morning after, if they have someone coming home to them, or if they're? What advice would you have given me 10 years ago, knowing what you know now?
So 10 years ago, me would want to know what's gonna. I really don't know what advice I'd give myself from now till back then, because I do think you have to figure out what works best for you, what your partner, either the partner coming home or the partner who's already been home, what they need from you. Because, this works for us as far as, okay, I know you need to decompress for an hour. And, I say things change per season because that's how life is. Life changes, things change. So you also have to be flexible with what your expectations are from both ends. Because if I'm expecting one thing from you and you're expecting one thing from me, and we're not communicating to each other what those are, then regardless of how good one person does or the other, it's going to fail because you have to be on the same page. So what works for us may not work for somebody else. Someone else might be like, no, I need you to come home and I need you to be like in it, and it can't be this hour long, you go do whatever you want. That's just not going to work for someone's lifestyle. Maybe they have, just different needs that need to be addressed right away. But I'd say my advice is to anyone is figure out what your partner needs from you.
That's from both sides.
That's from both sides.
Right.
It can't be one-sided, because one, marriage and living with someone, it's a partnership. Unless you're living with a roommate, in which case, I mean, if you don't plan on living with that roommate forever, it just doesn't really matter. Right. But in the fact that, I'm giving this advice as someone who's in a partnership, you have to figure out what your partner needs and what your partner's expectations are from you, and vice versa, and then figure out what scenario is going to work best for you and your lifestyle and your expectations. And that, maybe your partner needs 2 hours. Maybe they had a really bad day at work, and, maybe not just in the fire service, but I mean, I can't imagine, 911 operators have it easy either. They're not going out to calls, but they have that, emotional trauma of that initial contact, which has to be a total, I would say, like, I don't know, like the right thing, like the mind, like,
a mess.
Or, nurses or, all over the place, or just someone who's working shift work. Maybe someone works like a 3rd shift at a warehouse. Like,
not a 4th shift. Thanks for plugging thanks for not plugging the company with an opportunity.
4 shifts, sorry. Maybe someone works at 4th shift.
Good job.
But I think that's my biggest thing is you just have to figure out each other's expectations and then really work on it. And it's not going to mean, like I said, we've been together for a long time. We've been living together for over 11 years now. Things have changed and ebbed and flowed. And, even now we have our good mornings and there's bad mornings, because maybe you had a easy, they're few and far between, but maybe you had an easy night where you didn't go on any calls all, at night, and you got to hang out and get a good night's sleep. And here is like, nope, the baby was up, months ago, because she sleeps through the night right now. But like, she was up every hour. I'm exhausted. Like, I need you to like come home, be on dad duty, and I need to go take a 2-hour nap.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's just, not every morning is going to be perfect, but you got to figure out and what's going to work for you guys.
Yeah. I think that applies to pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Because that's one thing that I came to a realization with when you were working full time. I think it was then. But if I had to give advice to the fire people side or the paramedic side or the shift worker side, and this is kind of an unpopular opinion, but I would say to understand that your job is stressful and your job is important and you're a hero or whatever you want to hear. And we have these very strange, abnormal stressors that go on in our work with expectations that can be unrealistic at times and situations that, we're not built to comprehend or make sense of. And that's crazy, right? We have a really, really potentially very stressful job. But just because your job is perceived as extremely stressful doesn't mean that whoever you're living with and trying to make a relationship with, that they're just having a walk in the park. It's all stress. So while your stress is running ambulance calls or going to fires and seeing terrible stuff and dealing with terrible things, their stress might be something completely different, but equally as mentally challenging on their end. And so one of the main pitfalls I've seen is guys and girls who champion themselves as being the firefighter or the paramedic, and I have the most stressful job. So when I go home to this person, they should be kind of catering to me because I have the hardest job in the world, and they need to understand that. You have a very difficult job, no doubt. But it doesn't mean that other people aren't stressed out. So if I come home and expect Katie just to cater to my every need because I have a stressful job, that's not going to go very far. I have to understand that while she's here or while she's at work or while she's with the kids, there's stuff that's stressing her out too. So I got to have a little bit of grace when I come home and understand that it's not one person operating at 100% and me coming in at 20%, and now it's all about me time at home. We're both getting hit with some stress, and we both got to figure it out. Unfortunately, the only way to do it is through
communication.
So sometimes it sucks as much as your job can. Sometimes it sucks more to have to communicate these things and figure out a system. But afterwards, it'll be better. And if it's not better, then it'll be better because you're single.
Oh, you're so funny.
Ours got better. We don't have to worry about it. So, anything else you want to throw in about the morning after stuff? No, it's hard to tell what we did talk about and didn't since we did this 2.5 times so far.
I think the one thing I will say, regardless of how bad either one's day or night the prior went to, I think you both have to kind of start the morning at home, like as a fresh page. Like, I know like there's days that you have super stressful calls and not as stressful, but I think now, especially with Nathan being much more aware of you being gone and your demeanor when you come home, you have made, I'd say, a better effort, but you do come in much more, I don't say happy because that's like the wrong word too. Not that you're not happy coming home, but it seems, especially right when Nathan sees you, you're not as, you don't kind of carry the stress of work home with you as much. So I think that's another thing I've noticed too. And I know that's something you've adjusted, or if it's just been the adjustment of taking that extra hour at work. But I think maybe just something for people with little kids. He just understands more now. So I think he kind of can read you better. Mm-hmm. So you've made a much better effort as coming in happy and excited to see him. Well,
yeah, when he wouldn't nap today and you went in probably not smiling today, he asked if you were okay.
That's when I went to go get him after he woke up.
Yeah. So yeah, he's very perceptive.
He's very perceptive.
What we're putting off now. Are you okay? Yes, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
All right, we'll cut it off then. I'm sure we'll talk about this and or something adjacent to it in the future, but I just wanted to get this going because, I had 2 weeks of these mornings the past couple of shifts, so just being up all night and coming home, and I was like, it's appropriate. And then I remember specifically saying, hey, we'll do this episode tomorrow morning. And then I was up all night, and I got home. I was like, I don't give a shit about recording an episode right now. Like, I needed more time.
It was like the one day I had to go into work too.
And you left me high and dry. And it was awesome. Ebbs and flows, you say.
Sawyer slept the whole morning.
I know.
You played in the mud with Nathan.
I sure did. I took a nap in the mud. Anywho's. All right, guys. If you need anything, obviously don't be afraid to reach out. fourthshiftfit@gmail.com or at fourthshiftfitness on all social media. Shoot over any questions, comments, topics you want to talk about. I'll be back with Kurt a bunch more on these things. And then obviously Katie's going to fill in whenever I can convince her to and bribe her with enough wine and bad TV afterwards. So talk to you guys soon and be a fourth shifter. I say bye.
Bye.
Bye.